Welcome to Whispers of the Web, where the hidden gems of the web come to life. Join us as we unravel the most fascinating tales, secrets, and discussions from across the web. Every whisper has a story. If you enjoy our journey through the whispers of the web, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the intrigue. Story number 1. Approval for everything. Okay. So I'm in IT. And where I work, my team is awesome. We are usually allowed to order our own devices about everything related to the network and equipment related to keeping everything running. Our manager usually just wanted reasons for everything, and if it made sense, it was cleared same day. Anyways, the present day. Around the beginning of the year, our higher managers decided they're going to keep a tighter leash on spending and such. So they looked to the IT department because we do at times need $6,000+ of hardware for replacements. Normal wear and tear over the year, and we recently did a $75,000 network rebuild because of corporate decisions, but we've kept to the assigned budget. In order to keep IT under their thumb, they've switched to requiring submitting approvals before submitting the official purchase order. So the malicious compliance. The notice said essentially if IT needs to order it, we want to approve it first. So everything gets an approval form. IT needs $75 for more post-its? Approval form. Critical stuff for an immediate response? Approval form. Basically, it's gotten to the point where something that took us 1 to 2 weeks for delivery now takes 4 to 5 weeks for the same thing, which has caused strains on everything we usually work on. Parts that need replaced are still on order, so stations and computers are offline until replacements are approved. It's satisfying watching the management scramble to mass approve things once it's brought up as impacting the site's work. Story number 2. You really want me to log time by the ticket. I'm sure all of you reading this, you have had to log your work time in one way or another, and I'm sure most of you don't agree with the granularity of said logging. So I work in IT. Many years ago I was involved in a big project creating a new platform while maintaining the old one. So during the week I would spend some time on support tickets. My role was more high level. I would never be the one to actually work on a ticket. At one point in time, there was a new support coordinator assigned to the client account. The number of tickets was rising and the team couldn't keep up, threatening the new platform. The coordinator needed metrics on the team's performance, so he generated reports from the ticketing and the time logging systems, combined them, and started looking into improvements. Until he came across my logs. The metrics told him I spend about 2 hours a week and edit a varying amount of tickets. This looks weird and he couldn't build a client on tickets I worked on, so he asked me what was going on. I explained that I would look over the list of open tickets, bulk update where needed, and log my time with a remark like classified tickets. Then I would move on to my other duties. He didn't like that and told me to enter a time log for each separate ticket I work on. I asked him what the minimum time was that he wanted me to log, which turned out to be 15 minutes. Fast forward a few weeks of me spending an hour a day logging hours, and logging that task too, and creating virtual overtime of about an hour a day. Then the coordinator comes up to me with a request to go through and update the full backlog. I'm fine with that and tell him I'm logging that as a generic task and not per ticket. He tells me no, it must be logged per ticket. So finally the malicious compliance. I spend about 2 hours to go over the backlog and make sure everything is in order. Then I spend the rest of the day entering everything into the time logging system. Fun fact. I was the first to reach the system's limits, but found a workaround to log everything. That day, as logged in the time tracking software, I worked for more than 16 hours. The rest of the week I took it easy, came in late, went home early. I was done for the week and every hour I worked extra would be unpaid, right? When it came time for the invoicing, the coordinator could not justify the huge amount of hours I logged on the account. My rate was twice that of a tech support, and finally he allowed me to stop logging by the ticket. My productivity went up again, as did my mood. I did flag the potential problems and drop in productivity to the CTO and CEO, who I reported to directly, but they said to comply anyway. We did laugh about it afterwards and learned a lesson in how not to waste time. Thank you for reading my story. TLDR. Instructed to log time per support ticket, worked 16 hours on a 2-hour task, client refused to pay. Story number 3. Was denied 2 days of paid PTO, so I took off a whole month. When I worked corrections, I requested for 2 weeks off. I had been there for years and accrued plenty of paid leave. It was given to me as I had done so months in advance for a personal event. The 2 weeks went by way too quick. I had specifically lined up my 2-week break to lead into my 2 days off at the beginning of the break and at the end so I could maximize my time off. However, during my normal off days a family emergency came up that was quite serious, so I asked for another 2 days off to handle my situation. I was told by my direct supervisor that there was no way she was approving that, because we are only allowed to use 84 hours of leave in one continuous block. Given our rotating written schedules and 12-hour shifts, this equaled 2 weeks. And she ordered me to come in the next day, or I would receive a write-up. I didn't argue because I knew she was correct. So I showed up that night and reported for my shift, and much to my surprise, my captain had called out sick, so a relief captain came in to fill her shift. I asked him to give me the next day off after my shift was over. He and I had a rapport given the number of years we've worked with each other previously, and so he looked at the schedule and my leave. He said, "You know you've got plenty of leave, right?" "Yes, I know. I just need some of it to handle my business tomorrow." "No, I mean you've got plenty of leave to take, and the roster is filled the next 2 weeks." "Yeah, I just got off a 2-week vaca." I stopped because he winked at me, and it finally clicked. We can only take up to 2 weeks off consecutively. Nothing says we can't take off 2 weeks, come in for say an hour, then go home and take off another 2 weeks. So I did, and he signed all the paperwork stating, "It's not my shift, screw that witch." I handled my emergency literally the next day. It turned out to not be as serious as we thought, and then enjoyed another paid 2 weeks off from work. It was great. To add to the bliss, I reported back from work to find out that this captain was fired and replaced for some kind of negligence or something. It was a great month. Edit. The captain I worked for was fired. The captain everyone liked who gave me the PTO stayed for a couple more years before retiring. Story number 4. The city wanted us to get rid of native grass, so we built an urban wetlands. It all goes back to the summer of 2021. I started working as a biologist at an urban farm, planning and constructing polyculture systems to research food production. I developed a plan for noxious weed control and started to construct the systems over the course of 2 years. During this time we had some back and forth with the city council, who didn't understand the nature of our agriculturally zoned property. After several meetings and lots of work over 2 years, we'd finally made a lot of progress and reached an agreement with the city by the summer of 2023. Part of the agreement was to mow ditches and the small yard of our property's farmhouse. I'll remind you the property is zoned as agriculture, so we have no obligation to follow residential ordinances. About halfway through the summer at the end of July, the city came onto our property and mowed our entire native pasture and what was soon to be an orchard of already planted baby trees. When we talked to them, they noted ordinances against tall grass and state noxious weed laws as a justification, the latter of which is ironic because they interrupted our system of invasive plant control by mowing in a time when we should have been spraying bioherbicide. So now, in order to remove all the invasive plants from my property and comply with all the ordinances, none of which have anything to do with water, I have created a massive urban wetlands. It's huge, it's beautiful, it's wet. It's compliant to every law and ordinance. It's mine, and the city mayor who lives next door to my farm can enjoy it just as much as I enjoy it living 5 miles away. So now I have a wetlands to research instead of a prairie, and I love it. Story number 5. Church wants to sue me for a review. I'm from Germany. We are a very litigious society, so much so that businesses can sue individuals for writing bad reviews. In fact, per German law, it's up to the individual to provide evidence that what they wrote actually happened, or else the individual can be forced to take down the review and pay legal costs to the business. I'm a tradesman and did some renovation work for a church in a small town. The church did not pay me. I take 50% upfront, and the church had cheated me out of the second half after I had completed the job. The church only had one other review. I wrote a review stating that I had been cheated by the church. I promptly got a legal letter from the church demanding to take it down unless I wanted to be brought to court. The church could easily argue that they paid me in cash and I would be out of luck according to German law. Okay, I complied with their demand. I took down the review and posted a new one stating that I'm a tradesman and the church threatened to sue me for writing a simple review. I also attached the legal letter from the church as an image in the review. Fast forward a few months, I received an angry call from the clergyman. He said my review had caused several tradesmen to either ghost him or ask him for complete payment up front. He claimed that I had cost them thousands and that I would burn in hell for hindering God's work. I then asked him, "What is your religion's founder's view on honesty, compassion, and forgiveness?" Cue a moment of radio silence, followed by him hanging up the phone. No legal letter yet. Anyhow, I can now substantiate my review. Thank you for joining us for today's journey through the whispers of the web. Share your thoughts and suggestions for our next adventure. If you're not yet a part of our whispering community, click the subscribe button and click the bell for notifications to never miss out on another story. Join us next time as we uncover another enthralling tale from the web. Until our next whisper.